on your Twitter feed some excitement about Kendall Hunter getting signed on at the with the Saints. I mean, I'm sure you heard that news. I mean, it's got to be gratifying seeing one of your other your guys gets hurt, has to have some trouble in his career, and it looks like he's getting another chance.
He's done really well and has had some unfortunate injuries. In college he was out here for really 2.5 months and then came back and has done the same in the NFL. But he's a good example of a young man that does what they ask. He's committed, doesn't get any issues off the field. They know he's going to play hard, and he's tough. And there's just a spot for guys that are tough, and football is important to the way that they live their life.
Is there a chance maybe you guys could meet up when you're down there, being that he's in New Orleans now, or is that too far down
I
the road?
don't know what his schedule is. There will be times that we could be practicing at the Saints facility. So, and Kevin Williams is there. So I would like to see Kendall and Kevin if it fits their schedule, but I know they're busy just like we are during the season.
Another OSU tie with this Ole Miss team, Jason Jones, on their coaching staff. What was the personality and kind of the strength he brought when he was an assistant here? I mean, how do you look back at his time?
He was very high energy, enthusiastic, loyal, bright, up-and-coming coach. He's somewhat of a veteran now, but we were glad to have him, and he really worked hard and was committed to Oklahoma State football at the time he was here. It was an opportunity to go back closer to home for him. Has done very well from what I hear.
Have you kept in touch with him at all? He's leading up to this bowl game now. Have you guys reached out to each other?
I don't talk to anybody really. I mean, if I see him, sit and talk and have a good conversation, but I don't really keep up with anybody. I don't talk much during the season.
When Ole Miss is at its best, Mike, what personnel or tendencies or whatever command your attention the most? What is it they do particularly well when they're at their best?
They're really fast on defense. Their defensive front is very good, in my opinion. Their quarterback is a playmaker. And the receivers, particularly Treadwell, are big-time players.
Jordan Stern said, I asked him the same thing, and he said he just never seen a team with so many big receivers. He said, like, everybody's like Marcel Aitman.
They're in that league, more size than what would be in this league. More guys in this league are more side to side, but they have height in that league, and they play fast and no huddle, and there's a lot of similarities to what they do on both sides of the ball and what we do here. They do have speed, and they've recruited well, and they have some strength on the defensive line.
Mike, within your team, how important was, I even called it a reemergence of Juwan Seals, as athletic as he is, and he's had his points off the field, but for him to be engaged again and making plays, how critical is that?
Well, it's important for us to have depth, and he gives us some flexibility there with James at that position to get him off the field. When Juwan wasn't with us, and then for a week or so wasn't with us mentally, we didn't put him on the field, and it overloaded James. And if he's back and competing, which he is now, then it allows us to let James play 45 or 50 plays and let Juwan play 25 or 30 or either way. But he has the capability of making some big-time plays, and over the last few weeks, including this week, his practice habits and his attitude's been really good for our team.
You've had more exposure to your guys now in a practice setting. School's been out a little bit. Can you tell how engaged they are for this bowl game? And can you tell their level of intensity?
Well, we're not allowing them to do anything other than be engaged. Our practices are pretty extreme at this point. We're pushing them to the limit. We feel like that those are areas that we need to improve, that we're not as far along as we needed to be in the last couple weeks for whatever reason. So that's the schedule that we've come up with, and so they're very engaged, and I like their attitude. There's times that we have to run after practice, and as you guys know that watches practice, we don't have issues with our guys. They all buy in, and they've been really good up to this point.
Do you have any kind of curfew or limitations set on them right now?
No. That discussion comes up every year, and at some point they have to learn to take care of themselves. There's 124 of them, and as much as the public or people would want to think I can babysit them all, I can't. I've got issues just babysitting my 3 at home. And so they have to learn to take care of themselves. We educate them and communicate with them every day on taking care of their bodies, not abusing their bodies, sleep, hydration, food, all the things that are important in an athlete taking care of his future, which is their bodies. And so we do everything we can to protect them, but at some point they have to take care of themselves.
In a small college town, and especially when the other students are gone, if a guy does something stupid, is it impossible for him to get away with it? I mean, are you going to hear about it?
Well, I hear about a lot. There's not much that goes on in this town that I don't know about. And I have a 19-year-old son. You can ask him, and he'll tell you that I know everything that goes on in this town for the most part. Now, if there's something that goes on that's from a legal issue, everybody's going to know about it pretty fast.
Well, I don't necessarily mean criminal activity, Mike. I'm just talking about, somebody.
Knucklehead.
Yeah, knucklehead. That's a good word.
Well,
That's my favorite.
I mean, that happens all the time, right? You have 124 men between the ages of 18 and 23. Most males don't grow up till they're 35, maybe some of them 40. So I get a lot of comments on things that go on in the community, and it's no different. At some point, give or take, there's 18,000 students here at Oklahoma State, and so we have 130 of them on our team, and if you take the percentage of those players and what they get into, it's going to be less than what the university gets into with just average college student like we all did. So we hear things all the time, and we deal with it, move on down the road.
Because an English professor's not going to make them run.
No,
Right.
if it shows up to class, fine. If they don't, fine.
Right.
They got to take care of themselves.
You mentioned Mason would likely be out of the boot by today. Is he out? And if so, how has he looked so far?
He's out. I saw him walking down the hall today. He seems to be doing fine. I'm not really concerned with him getting into practice routine until Monday. I know he's going to practice today. He's going to be in the throwing drills. Personally, I'm more concerned with him being in the team concept on Monday. If he's going to go out and do any teamwork today, so be it. But I know that he's out of the boot, and I know he's in throwing drills today. So.
Matt Fodge was a really reliable guy for you, and Quinn Sharp hit these beautiful rainbow punts for you. But has any punter ever had a better field position season than Siner has for you this year?
No, he's been really good. We talked about that. I think he could very well be responsible for 2 of our wins. And if you look back at what he was able to accomplish at West Virginia and against TCU about where their starting position was, and he's been really good. He's improving in the other areas, but his target punting, which I would mention to you guys before the season, that I thought that we were further along in location and target punting than we ever have been here in the past. And he continues to work at it. It's been very good this year.
One thing you look forward to at Christmas. Give me one thing that's really your favorite about the Christmas season.
It's actually the first time that I'll be with my family, my kids, without having to go to work. Because even though we have supposedly days off, we still come to work every day. So we don't really have days off. For us, we're off on the 24th and the 25th. We go back to work on the 26th because we travel, and we're working on the 23rd. So it gives me a chance to be with them and not have to come to the office. I just have to make a decision whether I want to turn my phone off or not in order to have just the entire day. And so that's really what's become my favorite time of the year. Up until I had kids, it was to walk around the malls and see all the decorations and the music and walk in the stores and stuff. You know, when you were little and you went in Hickory Farms and got the free samples and stuff like that?
Yeah, I did that.
Like 4 times. And people were like, weren't you just here 5 minutes ago? All that kind of stuff fires me up, you know.
On the player side of that, Mike, they've been at it a long time too, and they get to go home for Christmas.
3 days. We
Yeah.
let them out of here at, they're done with us at 1 o'clock on the 23rd, and they don't meet us until noon on the 26th. And that's important. They need to get away from us. We all need breaks. We got to get away from each other and go home or go wherever it is that we go and kind of recover a little bit. And they'll do the same. And so that's why we enjoy, not only because of the bowl games we're in, but when we play in games after late after Christmas, they can go home for 3 days and be with their family. And by the time they come back, they're ready to be coached.
New Orleans can be crazy any night in any month, whatever. But with all the crap going on with security in this country, and it be in New Orleans on New Year's Eve, will your guys be in the hotel with and just stay together as a team rather than have any kind of time to go wander around that night?
No, they'll on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll be with us. Yeah, we have a game the next day, and so they will be with us in a remote location. We won't be on Canal Street on that night. There's always concerns at every bowl. We have to hope that the players can take care of themselves, but life is a learning experience, and we educate them. We've already started that process, and Matt Butler and Rod Johnson and Officer Queen and our staff do a great job of preparing the players for every bowl trip. And all we can do is try to educate them, prepare them, and teach them to take care of themselves. But on the day before, we'll go work out, and then we'll leave and go to another facility to where we can be by ourselves, because I haven't been there, but I don't know that where we're staying down Bourbon Street would actually be a good place to sleep on New Year's Eve.
Mike, are you confident that Seton and Jarwin will be ready to go for the
Yes,
Sugar Bowl?
yeah, they're out there. Seton's been practicing full speed, and Jarwin will start practicing full speed on Monday.